Today, I'm going to provide you guys with some new tools to take a look at. First of all, these are the tools I use for searching and identifying and understanding information. The ones I've selected are based off of experience in working with this technology it was initially developing, and then finally as they have improved it over time. Some of these you're familiar with, some of these you're not. The overall goal of what I'm going to share with you is to help you understand what will help you in developing your understanding of anything and how to gain a better access to knowledge. Just remember, most of the information that you have access to online or otherwise is biased unintentionally by cultural design because of the nature of how we think and feel and experience life. I would quote Yuval Harari, who is directly stated, for instance, if you go throughout time and you look at different civilizations and cultures, there are unintended structural things that impact the way we think and view the world. There is no difference in the way that we view society today. That is to say that you will find information and you will also find critiques of the information from the artificial intelligence structures you're utilizing that is found in the foundations of what we have identified as the proper way to identify the truth of information, which may or may not be the case. Consider that for a moment and then we'll continue forward. First thing we're going to look at is Claude. If you're not familiar with Claude, you should be. This is a system that can take in up to 100,000 tokens. What does that mean? A token is everything from a word to a space to a grammatical marker. It can even be an equation. It just depends on the way it's categorized by the system. It works very similar to how your brain operates. Your brain will take a chunk of information and turn that into something meaningful in reference to a specific context. That's how most of our AI systems operate right now. This one is of particular value if you're trying to write a report and you want to upload documents. This is great because you can upload tons of documents all at once and it can start reviewing them for you. Now, for instance, if I was to take this, these are a bunch of different marketing analysis I did for a different firm to help them understand where they were positioned and how they could operate within the given market. They didn't understand what they were looking for or how to understand what their ideal customer profile was. So I helped them identify that. But you can upload into this anything from Excel files to PDFs to text documents, you name it. If you're looking to do taxes, for instance, you can upload tax codes. If you're looking to assemble a complex amount of research data that you've collected either through marketing efforts or through your personal research and development or self-development or books, and you want to look for themes and ideas, you can do that with this. This, in fact, would be a good way to illustrate the work of Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell spent his entire life reading over different manuscripts of different ancient texts to identify themes throughout human history that seemed to be rather consistent. And he found through reading and studying all of our different mythology, there were consistent themes. With Anthropic's Claude, you could essentially do that in a matter of weeks. Probably even a matter of days, you could accomplish this. And if you had the idea of what books you wanted to look at, you could immediately start referencing it and putting that information in here. But guess what? It's already all uploaded. So this is really good for personal research or for even writing books. That's what I'd recommend Anthropic for. The Claude, it's basically Claude, CLAUDE.ai. Okay. The next one that you should be familiar with already is ChatGPT. ChatGPT is contextually one of the best systems you can utilize. It was the game changer, first to market as well. The team is rapidly developing new ideas with this that it's coming out with every day. What would I use this for? I use it for virtually everything. And I also use Claude for a lot as well. It just depends on what I'm trying to accomplish, but generally I'll go back and forth between them. When you get a paid account with GPT, if you're not familiar with it, what you want to do is you want to go down to settings, okay? And then settings in beta, you want to go into here and you want to go into, oops, I'm gonna have to redo that for you. Settings in beta and beta features, and make sure you turn on custom instructions, plugins, and code interpreter. All three of these are extraordinarily useful for anything you can do. If you don't think you can find a way to use any of this or it doesn't seem applicable to you, that's because you're not trying hard enough or you're not seeing things from the right angle to make your life easier. Now, let's go through really quick and take a look at what each of these does. First of all, code interpreter. Code interpreter can do programming. It can build an app for you. I have used it, for instance, to build multiple APIs. I do not have experience in programming in any programming language, But what I'll do is I'll go to the given website that I want to build. For instance, let's go to one that is an instance of example here, 11 Labs. Okay, 11 Labs does some really sweet stuff with voice software. And now what I want to do is go to Resources, API Reference Docs, and you can go into here and essentially you can take the documentation and you can load all of this into GPT for you. Now, the API reference information, right here, you start going over it all. You can literally copy this and paste it all in, which is pretty fun. You can go into the text-to-speech module, load all this information in, and it will understand how to interact with the API and how to program the code for you. I did this in helping me build out an API that connected directly into Zapier. No previous coding background in order to do that. So you basically just take this info, honestly, you copy it and you paste it into it. And then you copy and paste in what you're trying to connect it to. And then it starts building for you. It's that straightforward. Moving along, Code Interpreter, oopsies, can do a lot more than just working with code. If you have an Excel sheet with marketing data, for instance, let's take one file that I built out. Let's go, where are you? Here it is, right here. Let's take this one. Watch this, load all sheets and explain each. So what it's gonna do now is it's just gonna load all the information into its memory bank from this. Right now, it's breaking it open. It's looking at all the different sheets here, and then it's going down and it's seeing how many of these are in here. The upfront cost, this is for their initial investment. This is for the projections of revenue. This is the rev and cost structure. This is the contract structure. This is a general market analysis. And these are the general costs. While it's doing that, we'll go over here and we'll show you another tool. Let's go to Agent. This is called Agent GPT. This is a pretty cool system, and I'll show you why. Research for me the ideal, well, let's rename it. Let's see. Ooh, drop ship. I want to start a dropship company with minimal expense. Help me identify key tools and softwares to help me identify the best products to sell using AI, and help me find the best place to build my Shopify site. Then make suggestions on how to improve my plan. So right now, what you got to understand is you can do image generation with this. You can do general search. It's going to scour Google for you. And then you can also have it write code for you. Now, if you have a paid account, you can do more than just a simple run. You can go into settings. You can select right here. You can go down and select 3.5 turbo, which means you have a huge memory length of 13,000 or 16,000 tokens. Remember, Claude had 100,000. And then GPT-4, just so you know, has an 8,000 token memory. I believe there is a version of Turbo with 32K. I use that for Zapier, but I don't really have a need for it. And the current version, by the way, loaded on the free version of OpenAI is, I believe, the 32K version of 3.5. And if you're like, what is all of this? What does it all mean? Well, it's just the way the model interprets reality. That's all you really need to know for now. And that 4 is generally better in most cases other than doing math. Math, it's been kind of sucking. But you go in here and you set those procedures. You go to home, and then I'm going to go down here and hit run. And now it's thinking. It's going to take my initial task, and then it's going to compare it with several different GPT models. They're all going to start chatting with each other. And then what they're going to do is systematically add tasks to perform. Identify and subscribe to AI-powered tools like Sell the Trend or Niche Scraper. They can help identify trending and profitable products for your dropshipping business. research and opt for a reliable, cost-effective website builder such as Shopify to establish your online store. I would use Fiverr. And then it just goes on, and it starts doing this. It'll add more tasks as it needs to, and then eventually it'll complete its research. But if that doesn't satisfy you, I have yet another research tool I use. This one here is called God Mode. Godmode.space. This is a fun one. Similar to what you're seeing here. See, and this is free right now, by the way. If you want to sign up for the version 2, that's not out yet. Let's go into settings, though. Let's make sure we have this all set up correctly. Alternatively, provide your own open API key. Ooh, let's see here. We'll go in here. And then it lets you supply your own API key to change this model. So I haven't done that. I'm going to pause this really quick. I'm going to go get one for 4 and come right back because I have too many accounts on OpenAI. By the way, if you want to set up an account with OpenAI to have access to an API key, that is ideal. The most I've ever spent in a day is like $2. And that is more than you can imagine worth of stuff I did that no human could do in a single day by themselves ever. It would be like probably 150 plus humans working on all the research I was doing from one computer. And they wouldn't accomplish it in a day. It would probably still take them several days to do it. And I was able to do it in a matter of like 3 hours. Pause. I actually want to show you guys something. You need to see this. There are a lot of people that are afraid of GPT stealing your freaking data. Right here, OpenAI, protecting user data is fundamental to our mission. We do not train our models on inputs and outputs through our open API, okay? And if you're like, well, they're not telling the truth, don't waste your time with that. If you're really going to think like that, you shouldn't even be messing with this and you're going to be left behind anyways. But the same goes for Claude. They don't collect your data to train it, so your data is safe. If you don't believe it, you're not going to believe anything anyone says. So we'll pause this and I'll pull this API key. So something I'll show you is when you generate a key, you get a lot of them. And you can go through and delete them as long as they're not connected to anything. So yeah, just be careful about that. So I'm going to go over here to where we were at, God Mode. And I'm going to pause this just in case you can see the key. This is a fun fact that I didn't realize. I would have spent more money on both my accounts. Right here, it basically tells you that if you want access to the GPT-4 model, you have to spend $1 or more worth of credits. That actually takes quite a bit of work, just so you know. So back to basics here. So what do we want to do? Let's basically research. I want to start a trendy dropshipping company. So now look what it's going to do. It's saying research profitable niche markets for dropshipping, add that. Suggest identify reliable suppliers, establish partners, add that. Set up e-commerce website with integrated payment orders, add that. Find AI tools to offload work. Okay, now it's going to start doing all these things. And if you look right here, automatically approved for 10 minutes. You can make this system run indefinitely, which is awesome because it will create text files for you. It'll do everything. You can literally have this thing run for hours, but they're smart. They make you click the OK button every 10 minutes. Now you could set up a system that will auto do that for you, but I didn't tell you that. See, look, now it's doing the query. It's going to start running it. It'll eventually start putting files here and collecting them for you with data that you can reutilize later. You can take all this information, in fact, and plug it back into Claude. So these are really the secrets of everything I do. I spent years developing my ability to do research. I originally did research in my undergrad on several projects that are rather unique. One of them for which of particular interest is volcanic lakes. Did you know that the levels of proof for fusion happening within our mantle are in excess of background radiation by at least 2 orders of magnitude, indicating that metals within our mantle are actually causing fusion? And that was verified in 13 different lakes across the entire world. Interesting, huh? But anyways, that's beside the point. So now it's doing that. Flip back over to here, agent. See, look, it's still thinking, it's doing its thing. These templates are kind of useless. They're just for people that don't know how to prompt engineer. What is prompt engineering? It's how to get AI to do what you want it to do. And that's probably actually a lot of reason people don't know how to talk to it. So just, anyways, won't get into that. So these are 2 of the major tools, God Mode and Agent GPT, both awesome. There are several others out there. These are the ones I've liked the most that I've ran into. I am biased. This is one of the first companies I worked with, and I really like what they do. And same goes for God Mode. I haven't talked to the owners of this company directly, but I have talked to one of the owners of Agent, and I'm just impressed. They were 2 weeks that they'd been in San Diego for their new office, and they came out of Canada, and they didn't know what they were even doing. They was like, oh, I don't know how we got here. Here we are. Let's see here. File name, complete text. The best niches for dropship in 2023, according to Auto DS, are health and beauty, phone cases, and swimwear. Men's fashion, women's fashion, furniture, home decor, jewelry, watches, office supplies, home improvement tools, customer electronics. That gives me a really good idea. We'll get to that later. But this is the idea here. And then look, it goes thoughts. Now that we have saved this information from the first source, look at that. Profitable niches. Let's take a look and see how accurate it is. Holy crap. Would you look at that? This tells you all the different areas you could target. Later, you can apply the 80-20 rule, which I use 95% of the time because it's good 80% of the time. Fair enough. Next thing we want to go over is, this could be very useful to you. Let's open a new thing here for you to look at, okay? If I wanted to get, when trying to understand value and get better answers from an all-knowing God, what would be good methods to talk to it to get what I want, like the 80/20 rule. And this, watch how fast this guy goes. Well, that's not useful. The all-knowing God is someone I can actually talk to. So how should I get the best information out of it? It cannot read my mind. Wow, see, this ended really poorly. So here's what I do. Change this over. Start a new thing. Go here. List rules and observed principles like the 80-20. So these are the reason I really like the 80-20 rule is it's an observation. It's not a law. It's just an observation. And too much of what we do in our day-to-day lives, we treat like it's law, like it's a fact, but it's actually what people say is fact. And you have to be very careful of that, because when you're dealing with an artificial intelligence that's trained on knowledge, you have to consider what's its data set. Its data set is all the information that was available to it. Who does the majority of writing that would provide that information? Okay. And those are things you have to consider. Who writes in general in this modern age? Not everyone. That's the key. Only certain personality types and profile types generally write. Largely academics, largely theorists. You don't typically have applied people doing a lot of the writing. You do have people writing about applied people, but the people themselves are not typically ones doing the writing because they're too busy doing. Just a thought. Well, let's go here, apply the 80-20. Let's see what we pull from it. Yes, we know that Bing has been disabled. That doesn't matter. There's boatloads of plugins, boatloads and boatloads. I'm probably going to take this video in long form content and have it broken down into several different videos so people can actually view it in a consumable manner. Let's see here. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. Occam's razor. Perfect. When faced with a multitude of explanations for a phenomenon, the simplest one is often the correct one. Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Parkinson's Law. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. This is something you should understand very deeply. This is often overlooked. And if you set a limit on the time you have to accomplish a task, you will be surprised at your brain's ability to accomplish it. This is also why it's very important. And this all relates to AI, perspective taking. There's a book you've probably heard of called The Power of Positivity. It's an older book. But one thing that stuck with me is the gentleman said, Don't look above at your problems. Look down. When you're looking down psychologically, it impacts the way your brain perceives and works with information. Neuroscience has begun to reveal this. In recent studies, they've found that perspective taking and the way you view things is extraordinarily important. For instance, being in a state of gratitude, it makes your brain more malleable, more plastic, and more agile because you've already gotten what you wanted. And if you already have what you want, you're not worried. And if you're not worried, it means you don't have excess cortisol. And if you don't have excess cortisol, it means you can form additional neuronal connections. Cool, right? Let's see here, law of diminishing returns. As you add up more resources to a fixed input, at some point you start losing value, which means typically 80% of a solution is enough. And then law of supply and demand. You know that one, Benford's law, a phenomena where one digit is more likely to be the first digit in many. We're not going into that. Dunbar's number, that's a fun one. Hofstadter's law, it always takes longer than you expect, even when you take into account Hofstadter's law. Metcalfe's law, the value of a network is proportional to the square of the number of connected users. It's often used to explain the value of social networks and technologies. So those are just some of the rules. You could put those in to a system that you wanted to keep track of for prompt engineering. But we're not going to go into that today. What we will go into next is one more search system, two more, that I use on a regular basis. The next one is Perplexity. Perplexity is really cool because when you have these are all subscription based, by the way. Going here, oopsies, go here, look, oops, focus, all. It will search for everything. Academic only, writing for generating text and code, Reddit, YouTube, Wolfram Alpha, Wikipedia. So those are just some examples of where it will pull data. This is really, really useful because if it's pulling from YouTube videos for you and it's scraping that, it can save you a lot of time. And if it just sends you the links, you can still copy the transcripts and paste them into GPT or Claude and have it summarized, which means instead of spending an hour watching a video, you can spend a couple minutes reviewing all the key points and seeing what things you need to look up and study. Remember that this is about improving the way you do things because if you don't do it, someone else will. Pragmatism. Next one we're going to look at that I have mixed feelings about, but I already paid for it, is this guy. Okay, meet your business intelligence sidekick. Not nearly as good as Perplexity, not nearly as good as Agent, or nearly as good as even God Mode, but there's some things coming to it. This is why I pay for stuff up front because all of those were crappy 2 months ago, but I saw potential in them, so I got them. Same with Runway. I bought a huge subscription to that because I saw the value in it. But if you look here, autonomous market research, what does that mean? Let's show you. This is the cool part here. I would like some good, let's see, what am I looking for? Good AI tools for a dropship company to automate the workload. Here's the cool part. I can leave this page now. I can even take this link and share it with somebody and it will auto update and let them know. I can take all of these links, by the way, and load them into a GPT model with search abilities and it will do it all for me. So how do I get those search abilities? Going into GPT, click to open a new chat, go here, go to plugins. No plugins are currently enabled. Well, that's a shame. This one accesses Google Sheets. This is a browser. Okay, we'll select that one. Okay, and we'll select one more. This is another one I really like down here. Let me get to it for you. WebPilot. WebPilot will browse web page PDF data, chat and write. It can work with many or one URL. It's really good. Okay, it is really, really good. I've had a lot of success with it because you can take essentially multiple links. Like for instance, we'll go to this one here, copy, You could go down here, paste it in, and then you could paste in like 10 more. Another thing I'll do a lot of times is I'll go into my Notion, which is amazing because you can take any web page you build in Notion, which is literally just like typing like you would in a document, and it can do everything that Word can do and everything that Canva, well, not Canva, but it can do a lot, like a lot. And it'll just generate it for you. It's really good. So those are a lot of the research tools I use to gather information. I spend most of my time on ChatGPT, Perplexity, and I've started to spend more time on Omni, but that's where I do a lot of it. If I'm looking to compile things or do additional resources, I'll go through God mode, I'll go through Agent, but there are a lot more systems out there than this. And the thing is, they're all competing to be the best. There's some are better than others, and they're all getting better all the time. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good day.